Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the rationalinvestor.co. My name's Brian Beamish, the Rational Investor. Some of you know me as the Canadian Rational Investor or CR Investor. I'd love to come to you through this YouTube channel here, give you a little summary of what I see happening in the Bitcoin land and what's sort of going on, whether the trends are up, the trends are down, those kind of things. Just give you a little summary of what we've been doing over here lately and maybe tell you a little bit about site news. So first things first, we're going to start off just with a simple overview of the Bitcoin market. Let's start off here. Basically, I have a grid that I like to follow of all the various Bitcoin markets, as well as Litecoin, and then some historical ratios. Why don't we start off with this first off? We've been talking for quite a while about this runaway US dollar. That's this green line here, and how commodity prices, gold prices, the dubs, which is basically the commodity basket, they're all heading lower here in the face of this US dollar rally. I'm anticipating that we see some sort of top in the US dollar here into fiscal year end for the Americans. So not a big surprise to see the rally. It was a little bit more than I expected. Lots of fear in the marketplace. October, typically a bad time of year for stock investing anyway. So not a big surprise to sort of see all this gyration. And considering that we are in a fear cycle, fear cycles usually are dominated by hard assets. So it would make sense, or commodity assets. So it would make sense that during October, during the most fearful time in the market, during a fear cycle, that the commodity prices would all come down. So, I mean, I don't see anything too extraordinary here. Because of this QE policy and the potential end to it and all those kind of ramifications, I think that stocks themselves, a little bit vulnerable up top here. And of course, this is the end of October, and well, actually, we're in the middle of October right now. So we always have to be concerned that maybe we're going to get a big stock market breakdown here through October. It's always a concern of mine. But anyway, so on to Bitcoin. Let's go take a look at, and really, when we talk about Bitcoin, we could really just be talking about all the commodities because they all basically look the same. When I look at my grid, if I take a look at any one particular market, this one, for example, this is the Phoenix market. I like to look at daily, 4-hour, 1-hour, and 15-minute. And, in my recent posts, I had been talking at length about how we had this yellow line was a bear ABCD pattern. The whitish bluish line was a bear ABCD pattern. And the red line is a harmonic pattern. And they all sort of seem to indicate that down in this sort of $300 area, we were going to see some sort of pivot. Previously through the summer, I've been watching the 88.6 for a regular bat. We were watching OTE through a bottom. And it's interesting how at each of those levels, there's the OTE sweet spot. There was a quick reaction back. Here's the bad target, quick reaction back. But ultimately, the market just kept failing. So here we are at the alt bad target. It's yet another battle point. Will it ultimately hold? Frankly, I don't know. And I think it's too early for anybody to say for sure whether they know absolutely whether it's going to hold or not. There is some supportive anecdotal evidence here to suggest that we should bottom. Willie, nice and stupid. Basically, I've told you guys time and time again, and I tell students all the time that I built Willie basically to stop me from doing what the public does. So you can see how the red line got into overbought here. Basically, the public was, euphoric buying, and sure enough, that was a top. Well, here we are basically down in this stupid oversold condition, and we're starting to come out of it. Public was panicking. Public probably dumped. And you can see the heavy, heavy volume. So in one of my recent charts, let's see if I can find it here for you. What I published, I had suggested that, maybe I took all the indicators off. Let's see. Are they going to wipe them out, or do I keep them? I don't get anything. Oh, there we are. Oh, well, so it got rid of my writing. But anyway, I had recently published that maybe I thought this kind of looked like a capitulation in here, right, with that huge volume spike. Here on Stamp, you can see those same harmonic patterns. In fact, I made it really nice and pretty for you guys. Basically, all the different Bear A, B, C, Ds and harmonics laid out in nice, pretty fashion. There's that point D target for Stamp. So, what I basically suggested to people was that we hit a whole bunch of downside harmonic targets. We had a nice panic liquidation, huge volume. We actually have a bullish momentum divergence, and we have Willie coming out of this stupid condition. So all the pieces are in place for a half decent looking bottom. For the YouTube audience and sort of slow investors that are just, want to be investors and, really aren't super day trade technicians, yada, 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 which frankly speaking, I think that's like 99% of the world. I think a lot of people fancy themselves super duper day traders, but they aren't in reality. But anyway, that's another conversation. Point of the matter here is for investors, this is nothing more than a V bottom, right? Nothing more. We cannot discern that the trend has actually changed here. Same thing on the Phoenix. This is nothing more than a V bottom, and we have to respect that. We could very easily, like this V bottom, this V bottom, this V bottom. I suppose you could argue this V bottom. It will ultimately need to be tested. These lows really should be tested. And if we can come down, then up, then down, and turn and put in a W, then we can start getting really bullish. Right now, I'm calling this basically the dead cat bounce. All right. Now, if we look at, the bounce itself, there were trade setups to take on this bounce. I'm not going to deny that for a moment. And I've been talking for quite a while to day traders that there have been some really interesting setups here. The interesting thing about this, though, is as you can see, this market has rallied. Now we're starting to get into short setup area. So, and look how overbought Willie has gotten here on the 4-hour basis. So for heaven's sake, if you did not buy down here and you didn't play the setups along the way, this is OKCoin, for example, and two setups that I teach in my course are the double bottoms, and we like to call them the Hollywood Nick double bottoms, the fighter jets, right? Whenever you see a fighter jet, that's Hollywood Nick taking a trade. There's another one here. And also we have the bot setup. That's what these notes are. Basically rally, 33% to 66% correction. It did that. In fact, here we can take off this fib. There we go. So we see 33 to 66. So it came into that zone. It bottomed. The bot simply just says this is a B, C, D. And if that's the case, then our target should be up here. So Fighter Jet Nick, here's his risk on the trade. Here's his potential reward, more than 1-to-1. Looks like about 2-to-1, which is nice and sexy. And here's the bot setup. Both of these day trade ideas. Here's the risk on the bot setup, and here is the potential reward. Right? Both of these day trades worked. And what I find really interesting is that, as we were going through the bear grind, and we'll use OK, for example, boom, down, 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 there were little setups that came along the way. And so this is an excellent testament just to the simple fact that as traders, we don't expect every setup to work. That's just the simple fact of the matter. If you accept every setup that it's going to work, then you're just setting yourself up for trouble, right? Because nothing ever is 100% in this life. You just have to understand that. So what ends up happening to professional, real pro traders is they expect for setups to fail maybe 30, 40% of the time. In fact, the boys on the CME floor, they were happy with 55% accuracy. That means wrong 45% of the time. The key here is that the risk on every single one of these setups is much, much less than the potential reward. You see how that works? If you stick, and this takes super discipline as a trader, if you stick to only taking profits where your reward is much, much greater than your risk, then you can be wrong a certain percentage of the time and still be profitable. What really bugs me about traders is their obsession with being 100% right. And they'll book like this kind of profit. Oh, good. I took this much risk, but hey, I booked this profit. I'm 100% accurate. The problem here is that when you get setups that don't work and you get stopped out, hopefully you can see if you book a whole bunch of small profits like this, and then you got to go and book these big losses like this, you can actually be unprofitable and yet have your 80, 95% accuracy, which in my opinion is just, it's a waste of time. And we have to, as professional traders, get rid of this obsession with having to be 100% right. So some people have gotten a little angry at me and said, Brian, one of the setups that you teach in the class, it hasn't worked so much lately, and I'm really kind of getting irritated and pissed off that I'm getting stopped out. And the simple message is, guess what? That's a trader's life. Welcome to the game. And if you want to be a professional long-term trader, you got to live with the fact that setups don't always work. In fact, I would expect, and I tell course participants, you should expect at least a third of your setups to fail, right? That's Crye's 2 rules of investing. Rule number 1, make sure you use an algo where you have very good confidence that 2 out of 3 of your setups are going to work. By definition, that means that 1 out of 3 of your setups are not going to work. And I'm a little irritated by people lately because they just don't understand that simple fact of trading. But anyway, back to the current market. What I have been suggesting to people is that I think what we've had here is sort of a buy on the rumor, sell on the news, right? Because today we have this big CFTC government panel down in the States. Are we going to regulate Bitcoin? Are we not going to regulate Bitcoin? What's going to happen? And my hunch, if you look at the intraday charts, like I said, this 4 hours probably pretty good example. We came off a massive harmonic pattern here, and all we've done is just grind our way higher here, right? And my hunch is that there was a bit of a vacuum after this event. And then what's the next news? The next news is potential CFTC ruling, or at least an initial hearing. And so what the traders basically did was just backfill all of this profile here, because all the public were panic selling, just dump, 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 right? So the pros had to buy that. So what they do is they backfill the market here to go and find panic buyers. As soon as we get some panic buyers, which I kind of think this node up here is, right? We got this big volume spike here into the CFTC event. My hunch is that the guys who are backfilling, they're now taking profits right up in here, right? All right, so if we look at a little shorter term, I post this chart almost on a continual basis in the chat room here at CR Investor, and man, I got to tell you, this chat room is just awesome. I mean, we're developing just some fantastic traders here. And what I've been sort of suggesting to people is, if we look at the daily chart here, let's take Stamp for example. You notice that we're coming up against the 13. We're coming up against the 13 EMA. All right, that's this number right here. You can see that there was a little bit of gaps. Obviously, this is a key high the market's playing off of. My hunch is that the dead cat bounce is running out of steam. We're probably going to start rolling over somewhere in here to, at the very least, come down and maybe put in our W. Right, and if we can get the W, then all you position traders out on YouTube and stuff can start taking positions again. Right now, this is nothing more than just a dead cat bounce back into resistance. And that's the message that I'm basically telling the room. You know, so don't get too caught up in the bullish euphoria. There was nice little day trade setups. You know, we had them. They worked. They hit their targets. You know, you basically should have booked profits. And right now, I think the best thing to do is just sort of sit on the sidelines and wait for the dust to settle. You know, I even made the argument just a few minutes ago that we're actually starting to get short setups starting to develop here, right? Here's OTE zone. You can see we're way above value. Here's the POC, right? That's down at 3.25. Here's a nice notch. You know, if I was a betting man, my bet would be that we're going to have to fill in this notch here. That's around 320. And then if we go back and look at the intraday charts, what we see, you know, here's a 15-minute, for example. There's a notch there just below 38.2. Here's 50% level right up against that POC. And what's interesting from volume profile level is we actually have to zoom out a few days to capture that data. But you can see there's OTE long zone right in there. There's a notch, and there's a big fat POC there at 3.25. And gee whiz, look, we also got some gaps that need to be filled in right down here. So that's kind of what I'll be looking for over the coming sessions. You know, hopefully what we're seeing, hope, is you remember from the spring, right? We had this big calamitous sell-off, then snapback rally, right? And probably a lot of day traders are either took a trade or, you know, heaven forbid, we got a lot of retail FOMO buying up in here, which is what I'm a little bit afraid of about here. Then we pulled back and then we consolidated for a nice couple of weeks, and that set up my trade of the year. I don't know whether you remember that from the spring. I still think that this is the trade of the year. And what's ironic is if you had taken this trade and booked a 30-40% profit, you know, that might have been the only trade that you do for the whole year. And your portfolio shows a nice 30 some odd percent return for the year, which is pretty damn respectable. So go figure. So anyway, you can see the spike here. So you can see this zing, zing, right? You know, very similar to zing, zing. Hopefully, just like this, we just get a nice backfill and then a calming down. So hopefully from here, we just get a nice backfill, calm down, and then we can start our next run. And that's basically what I'm looking for at this point. All right, so that's your Bitcoin summary for today. I frankly have no idea how long this was. I hope that helped you out. You know, basically, I'll just give a little plug for the program right now. We're starting our Q4 School for Bitcoin Trader Development. You know, I saw just some fantastic traders come out of Q3's program. I mean, just real pros that are just killing the market, and they're analyzing, and it's just so much fun to come into the website every day and talk with all of these really, really smart traders now. So if you are at all interested in the program, you know, one of our students from the Q3 program came from the Reddit page literally on the last day of Reddit registration. And I think he's just thanking lucky stars that he was able to sneak into the program right at the last minute. So if you are interested in the program whatsoever, you know, we give you fantastic tools to analyze the market. We help you out with developing your trading plan to get you pointed in the right direction. And we give you lots of tools to work on self-discipline and, you know, removing the FOMO from your trading experience. So I think it's super, super value for the price that we're charging, basically about maybe 15% of industry standard. It's a 12-week program, so we'll be working with it together for the next 3 months. Every single week is a brand new topic of instruction, and you put it all together. Like I said, you get one hell of an experience at the end of it. The last thing that I'd mention with regard to the school is we actually do a one-on-one tutorial through the week for every single student. It's open to them. So literally, by participating in the program, you get basically 12 one-on-one sessions with me to basically, I'm at your disposal to work with for an hour. So basically 12 hours of one-on-one coaching too. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, so I think I'll leave the YouTube video for today. Gives you a pretty good summary of what's going on in crypto land. I haven't really looked too much at the alts lately. Still, pretty much focused on the Bitcoin market right now, and I don't want to overwhelm you guys with information. But basically, that portfolio is just marching right along, doing its thing. So everybody have a great day. Any questions about the program or about this content, feel free to get back to me. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. And I wish you all the best of luck in your trading. Thanks a lot, and bye for now.